Hello, everybody. I'm Tanvi Bali, and I'm here to talk about my session Security Champions Driving Innovation by Creating Future Cyber Workforce. But we are not here to talk about me today. We are here to talk about you today. So let us start with two important questions before we begin with the actual session as well. So, my first question is whoever is listening to this talk today and is a security professional, my question to you is have you ever felt that frustration and burnout in the very work that you do? Have you felt that you have too many secure design reviews, too many secure coding reviews to handle that you can actually handle in realistic sense as well? Are you truly burnt out? Now, my second question is for the engineering and the DevOps community out there. Have you truly felt with your heart that security is indeed, despite all the automation that we put in, security team is indeed a major blocker for you and for the business? Well, if the answer to both these questions have been a yes, trust me, I have been in both these spaces myself. Before I had a final dream and a vision to resolve it all. Now, my third question comes think about it. What if we had a single silver bullet to resolve all these questions in one shot with a single strategy? If security teams are not burnt out and the DevOps teams actually think security is an enabler, you can add security professionals working in the tech teams as well, but with the minimum cost for the business. What if? What an amazing dream that would be. Well, I had that dream and that vision myself as well. But it took a lot of number of years to even get there at the end of the day. So now let us start with my journey. And my idea today with this session is to help you with yours at the end of the day. So let's begin with my journey. Now, I started my career in 2011 and I was a developer and I worked in a really large tech corporation as well as a developer. And everyone who's a developer on this call understands we need to do morning deployments, night deployments, code releases as well. Now, I was sitting in the office one day, 10 p.m. at night, waiting for finally for my release to go through. And 2 hours before my release, when I was dreaming about my hot food and my nice bed to go back and sleep, there came a security professional who said to me, Tanvi, you have vulnerabilities in your code and you cannot deploy today. Please come back tomorrow. That was a catastrophe. Something I had not imagined, something that I didn't like, something that I didn't accept at that point in time. And I felt all the work that I've done has just gone to the bin at the end of the day, and I need to repeat it again and again. So it's very clear at that point in time in my career when I was a software developer, we had delivery pressures. I had to deploy that for the business. But I literally had no training in security. I never knew what good looks like. And yes, that security professional who mentioned Tanvi, you cannot go live today, was the biggest bottleneck of my life at that point in time. Now, for all the DevOps community, if you are feeling the pain, trust me, I have been there. That's when I made a decision in my life. Okay, Tanvi, let's see if the grass is greener on the other side. So I changed my career in 2016. I became a security professional in the DevSecOps space in 2016 itself. But I was only related to application security at that point in time. Now I was doing secure code reviews, not for one, but for hundreds of teams. And I understood at that point in time that yes, it is a major pain. I thought grass was green on the other side, but it's not easy. It is hard at the end of the day. What I understood at that point in time is there was not enough Tanvis who could help match the pace with the teams as well. I lacked that scalability. I alone had to check 100 projects who were deploying ASAP right next week. I was pressurized to compromise quality and security for the sake of deployment as well. And that's where I understood, yes, the risk is increasing, but we cannot compromise on security at the same time. Developers at that point in time hated me. That's when it struck in my mind. Yes, Tanvi, you've now formally became that same security SME who blocked you at that night that day. That's when I decided to understand the problem a bit better and resolve it at the very core as well. I didn't want to be on the either side. I didn't want to be in security or in the tech space as well. I wanted something more to resolve that problem. It required something more as well. The most important part was to understand what really the problem is. So we have all the tools in place. We have everyone in the industry has all the security tools possible in their pipelines at this point in time. But why is we still not there yet in reducing the risk or helping the business go faster as well? Because we are understanding the problem very wrong. So the problem is that we have a culture of blame game. Every department in the organization has conflicting priorities as well. And yes, as security people, we are not enough. And that is the reason why we are a blocker. But at the end of the day, the underlying gist of the problem is that it is a people problem and a process problem and not exactly a tech problem. Now think from an application security perspective. Despite the fact that we can have all the tools, the actual remediation needs to happen by people on the ground who have limited or no training. They're in the organization, security professionals still need to review and have that governance as well. And it's a known fact that security is still involved in the triaging process, in an engagement model, still in every large corporation as well. So what should we do? How much can we resolve as well? That gave birth to an idea. What if we have champions on the ground who now scale security as well? And champions are passionate people who work on the ground and help security scale as well. But we slowly understood that the Security Champions program is also not enough, because the traditional security champion programs target on people interaction with security, tech interaction with security. We wanted something more. We wanted to scale security in the team so that those people have roles defined. They are traditionally called security expertise working within tech. And that is what gave birth to the program that I'm going to talk about. And that is completely a culture uplift, but with people at the heart, at the core of it. So let's start with the what now. Before I actually get into the silver bullet or the actual strategy as well, most important part is to always align to business priority. What do we want at the end of the day? What is our mission? Why are we even doing this? So our mission was very clear. We want the business to go faster, but we want the business to deliver secure value back for our customers as well. The vision was very clear. We, as security professionals, don't want to get perceived as a blocker. We want to take a governance role, but we want security to be a business enabler. Putting these fundamental laws in our mind at the very core, we defined a people strategy revolving that sits at the core of process and tech enablement. Now, from a people perspective, let's get into the what. So again, the program from a culture uplift is a very much people-centric strategy. We wanted champions, but we didn't want the champions only to interact with security. We wanted them to adopt self-sufficiency at the end of the day because we want the business to go faster. We wanted to break the silos between the security expertise and the tech teams as well. We as security people don't know enough about the actual tech as well because we are sitting on the outside. We can only see what we are shown as well at the same time. The next part was fostering a culture of accountability. Again, it's very easy to put on a piece of paper. Security is everyone's responsibility and accountability, but does that actually happen in reality on the ground as well? My answer is no. The next one was, how can we now have people who are actual security expertise, but working within their own teams to bridge the cyber skill gap coming from the application security domain? And yes, we wanted gender balance. When we are building a strategy, we wanted complete 50-50 representation from men and women at the same time. And that is the 6 pillars from a champion perspective. Now, how does that look on a strategic level as well? That was broken down into 8 pillars. Now, these pillars are not at all easy to implement, but when they work hand in hand, they actually help teams get empowered and build self-sufficiency, build cyber skills within the teams, bridge the gender gap, and build accountability at the end of the day. The final goal is to help go faster with secure value built in. Keeping that in mind, these 8 pillars were defined. Now let us understand what these pillars are and how do they actually work on the ground. The most important part for you who are listening to this call today is to how you can take the different pillars out of this strategy as well and use that in your own strategies. It is very much fluid. Many pieces can be taken out of it and leveraged for the benefit of your own organizations as well. So let us start with the first pillar, that is fostering a culture of accountability and self-sufficiency. Let's deep dive. Cool. Now, fostering a culture of accountability and self-sufficiency, the most important part was to literally have the champions enabled. Now, the champions work as, yes, we have the traditional champions program in place, but then the idea was to elevate it to a level 2 and a level 3 to have people align with certain accountabilities. Now, all the champions within the champions program really have accountabilities defined to them. For example, some of the champions could be a secure code peer reviewer. Some of the champions could actually enable secure design functions. Some of the champions could work with security architecture as well, and some of them could take up the roles of offensive security testing as well. The tech teams are so wider in their skill sets that every single role within the delivery teams can actually be converted into an equivalent security role at the end of the day. The idea was not to have that enablement for everyone in the team, but to have an enablement for one person within every single team from a scalability perspective. What do they do at the end of the day? Once the accountabilities are defined, they help drive security maturity as well. And yes, they collaborate with one another so that we could have more of them at the end of the day. Now, how do they break the silos? The most important part, because that is the structure that exists in most organizations. So there is tech and there is security at the end of the day. How do the champions sit at the intersection of the two and help drive security as well? Again, the idea is to nominate the roles that you feel would be the most beneficial from this. Ideal roles are your software engineers, your software testers, and your product owners as well. They are very easy roles to transition into security as well. Now, they don't only sit in their own teams, but they act as a virtual part of security teams working within the tech teams and vice versa. They act as a virtual part of tech teams also working with the security teams. So that is how they break the silos as well, like a virtual talent pool. Breaking this into wider categories as well. The program is broken down into various levels as well. So think about it. Are you only training your developers for the sake of training, with a view that tomorrow all the vulnerabilities will be resolved? But in security, we have so many challenges as well. What happens to pen testing issues? What happens to secure design as well? And not everyone coming from tech would want to really align to one security field itself. They might want to learn something entirely new within security as well. So that is where the program was broken down into three various levels. But every level optimizes the DevOps lifecycle at the end of the day. So let's look at level one, for example. Level one security champions are trained in primary application security skill set. But at the end of the day, their task is to work with the application security expertise as well. And that is what they would be learning and getting transitioned into. Same applies for level two and for level three as well. Looking from a tech perspective, these are roles that are coming from the existing assets, that is, people working within the tech teams. And there are no new skill sets or no new people getting added in those teams from a security front. There are people coming right from the tech teams at the end of the day. The only thing is, how do these people at the end of the day break the traditional engagement models and work with the security teams as well? And I'll get to that in a bit. But the most important part is, how do they even get nominated? And how do we encourage diversity of thought and inclusion and diversity at the same time? So very important is when you are nominating people into the program as well. They can come from any background as well. And any workforce, any role can actually be transitioned at the end of the day. The idea, again, is to have 50-50 representation as well. But trust me, we have graduates, we have really experienced people, we have product owners, we have senior execs as well who have onboarded into the program as well. And everyone has a different accountability and responsibility to take care of. And when you have that diversity of thought, people coming from different backgrounds, skill sets as well, the idea becomes even more beautiful and wider as well, because then you start taking the opinions and the feedback from varied skills and makes it even more beautiful at the end of the day. Now, again, the most important part is, yes, we have nominated those people. So let's say we have one person coming from every single scrum of the company. What do we do now? How do we even train them into being a security professional? That's where the empowerment comes from. And that's the second pillar. In terms of empowerment, the most important part is not only to do a security certification program at the end of the day. For a learning to be effective, it is very important that we always follow a 70, 20, and a 10 structure. 70 means what the people do on the job, and that is where the accountabilities that we defined in the very start help. For example, a secure code reviewer has an accountability defined that the person is reviewing the code securely. And that is a job that they're doing on the ground, because they cannot train everybody in everything. They learn right at that point in time. The second is, what do you learn from your peers, from your community? But what do you even learn from the security expertise that is available to you as well? And like we previously spoke, that all the champions are one-on-one mapped with their relevant security teams as well, virtually. That is how they learn directly from the security expertise as well. At the very end comes your 10, and that is your actual training program. Training can only help you up till a certain point, help understand concepts, certain technologies as well, certain skill sets, certain abilities with knowledge levels as well. The best value that you get out of it is, what are you doing on the ground at the end of the day? So that's why 70, 20, 10 was very important. Now, breaking the empowerment down into further pillars was very important as well. So the first point is, when you're transitioning roles into security, the underlying framework that works with it is the NIST NICE framework. Use that framework to make that transition into cybersecurity as well. But secondly, most important thing is about the training. So again, the trainings can be classroom-based, online-based, tournament-based, but the most important part, as I said before, is your on-the-job learning. Now, on-the-job learning is certainly from the security expertise that is available for you, But it is very important for security teams to work in this virtual talent pool as well to build guardrails. So in DevSecOps world, while you can automate most of the things around CI/CD, but there are always manual components that cannot always be automated. Think about secure requirements. Think about secure design. It is very important for security teams to move out of engagement processes and start building those guardrails. Now, think about it. Despite the fact that we have built massive automation and there is a security professional like Tanvi sitting and reviewing hundreds of reports at the end of the day, is that helping the business go faster? My answer is no. But various security champions sitting within the teams, reviewing and ensuring that the code is secure, will help the teams go faster. And that is where guardrails are more important over security engagement processes. Very important part is to build those guidelines as well, because most of the teams within tech, they have brilliant ideas and they're built for innovation. But it is very important being a security professional to guide those teams into what those best practices actually look like as well. And that is where your guidelines come into the picture. But yes, provide them access to the security tools that you want the teams to leverage. Most of the security tools are built with a viewpoint of enabling security teams. They're very rarely built for the tech teams at the end of the day. Even if they are, it is very difficult for the tech teams to go and remediate vulnerabilities at the end of the day as well. So again, provide them access to the tools, guide them on what does effective remediation actually mean like. But very important is not to just train them and leave them saying that you are now a security professional. It takes years to build that capability. And it's very important that in the virtual talent pool, security and tech is working together. And that is where they are provided access to the relevant security expertise. The difference is that the security expertise is now not engaged in an engagement model. Rather, they are building guidelines and guardrails for the teams and working with tech and enabling them. All in all, security is governance at the end of the day. Now, moving on to the other pillars, and I wouldn't get deep dive into these ones because they're very huge strategies by itself, but on a very high level, it is very important when you're building culture uplifts at the end of the day to have top-down buy-in. It is very easily put on a piece of paper, get every exec in the organization to buy in into your strategy. It's not easy at all. What is the value that we are providing at the end of the day by having security expertise built in? The teams actually have lesser operational cost at the end of the day, reduced incidents as well, and reduced rework. Imagine the time that is spent in a sprint to remediate the vulnerabilities as well. How amazing that would be if the teams were spending it in innovation rather than cleaning the older stuff as well. But very important in the program was to drive it bottom up. The champions who are now our counterparts define the strategy as well. And that is the reason why it is so open in nature, because the teams define how they need to operate. I've learned this in my security career, that as a security professional, we cannot go in tech teams and define how the tech would operate. The tech needs to define how they would operate, and security needs to be built in at the end of the day. That is what the bottom-up approach helps as well. The next importance is the feedback loops and the optimization and the improvements that it brings along with it as well. Moving on to the next pillar, like I was just talking about, is your continuous improvement. Now, continuous improvement happens when you have a community. How it's generally run is using design thinking workshops as well. What worked for us, what didn't work for us. In a simple agile methodology, it is retrospective. What worked for us in a sprint? How can we improve better for the next time? And what are new cool things that we can do in this space? That is what continuous improvement brings. But it is very important to remember that when you're building a really huge culture change, embrace failure because you will fail every single day. By the time you can actually nearly reach a point where you are somewhat stable. So have that failure in mind, embrace it, would be my opinion on it as well. The next one is your rewards and recognition. Now, think about it. You have so many people who are coming up, nominating themselves to actually help scale out security and resolve business problems. The question is, what are we actually doing for them at the end of the day? What is there for them? Why should they even nominate themselves? And that is where rewards and recognition strategies help a lot. Think about your intrinsic and your extrinsic motivators as well. The idea is never to pay money to people or give them promotions at the end of the day. That doesn't build positive cultures. Positive cultures are built on recognition. It could be as simple as a pat on the back or a senior exec coming up and saying, "You're doing an amazing job." But also remember that it's very important that now that we've created this amazing talent pool, invested in them as well, how can we open up security roles for our internal expertise rather than hiring them from the very outside? At the end of the day, whoever we train internally is a workforce that we're enabling out in the industry as well. Keep that in mind, and that is very important. But the most important part is upskilling, cross-skilling, and career development of the people as well. But very important is the recognition. Without that, people will wear out, burn out, and lose interest and motivation eventually as well. Now, very important part was inclusion and diversity. When we started it, most of the roles that comes from tech are generally men, and there are very few women, even in IT, that are available at this point in time. How to bridge that in the security workforce was an even bigger challenge. So what I have here is from a strategic perspective, how it actually looks like. So we have women who are coming up, being nominated as the future cybersecurity workforce as well, because we need that too. The most important part is having a diversity and inclusion perspective into your people-centric strategy has actually got us 50% of representation nominations as only women. So we have hit that target very well as well. And that would help the industry with bridging the gap with females as well in the future. Now, the next one is maturity. Now, we have spoken about who are the people, where are they nominated from, how are they working with this security expertise as well, how are we empowering them, how are we recognizing them, all the people culture related stuff as well. How do they know what is good security practice? Always comes from your maturity framework. So when you're building a people-centric DevSecOps strategy, I must say, always build a maturity framework. There are so many maturity frameworks that are existing. Your OWASP DSOM model is an amazing one that I am personally leveraging as well. A very important part is to break that down and expand it based on how your organization operates. What do you want your champions to drive in every quarter at the end of the day as well? That is their main task, drive security maturity. How do they do that? The maturity model helps that. Take, for example, a simple addition in the maturity model could be, if you have application security tools, are you actually scanning once before the release, or you're scanning continuously every single day? That marks the maturity of the team. What are you doing about the vulnerabilities? Are you remediating your high vulnerabilities as well? Break them down on the severities. That is a category in the maturity framework as well. Again, it is very important for the teams to know what does good security at the end of the day really mean for them to do anything and drive anything back in the teams as well. Now, again, I've spoken and shared a really, really large strategy as well. Now, this is not at all easy. How we started it with it was take simple teams, simple 5 teams as well, and drive with those 5 teams all these pillars of the strategy. Eventually, I thought that maybe we could let loose of 1 or 2 pillars, but trust me, when you work on the ground, all these pillars work collectively, and that's what brings massive optimization. We have achieved optimization at least over 50% in all of these teams. Now, one pillar that I missed in all of this was the metrics. Now, think about your metrics that you want to drive in your organization. Do you want reduced identified vulnerabilities? Do you want increased remediated vulnerabilities? The strategy actually drives that as well. It's very important to define your goals and your metrics in the very start and then drive it through the people, linking that with the processes and the technology at the end of the day. Now, of course, this has not come easy. It is very challenging at the end of the day. The biggest challenge that I feel every person who's building a security champions program is executive buy-in. That is very difficult and very hard as well. But again, if you're mapping that to your business goals and objectives, it'll become easier to drive that at the end of the day as well. Now, revisiting all the strategic portions together, I'm stumbling today. Let's collate them together and have a look at what have we actually learned now. So again, whenever you have a DevOps transformation, always start with a people-centric approach, a culture-centric approach to DevSecOps. Now, DevOps by itself is a culture enablement. Why not DevSecOps? Why do we target it with tools at the end of the day? So always have a security champions program. But the security champions program needs to be built on the pillar of empowerment. It needs to have 70-20-10. If you have champions on the ground and their only task is to interact with security, that will not help anyone. It will only help everyone partially, but that is not a complete solution. What are the champions driving on the ground? And that's the important part. Mention their roles, mention their accountabilities, mention their responsibilities at the end of the day. Now, what is it that you have for them? And what is it that you have back for the industry as well? Do we have champions nominated to only get trained at the end of the day? If yes, then why not have a bigger strategy that resolves the skills gap as well? So think that these people are now your virtual talent pool. They're working with you. Set them up for success within security as well. Again, like I mentioned, people are your greatest assets. Rather than whenever you have agile methodologies, instead of having 1,000 security people who actually do not exist in the industry, think about how can you use your existing organizational assets, and people are your biggest assets at the end of the day. Don't forget to add in your collaborations and your diversity of thought. Design thinking workshops help a lot. And I must recommend design thinking training for everyone who's doing a culture uplift at the end of the day as well. Now, inclusion and diversity cannot be left alone. That needs to be added as a part of the strategy as well. And that is what sets the organization for success at the end of the day. Now, again, like I mentioned, embrace failure. It will fail, and the strategy needs to be liquid and needs to change eventually with the changing times. Embrace that failure and do not try to perfect it, because no one can. Now, always think what is there for the people. Always think what is there for your champions. Yes, we have remediated the vulnerabilities, and yes, we have reduced the risk, but vulnerability remediation and risk remediation actually comes as a byproduct when you actually do something back for the champions as well. Last but not the least, establish your communities. Don't just train the developers just for the sake of it and think that eventually after 2 years, all the security issues will amazingly vanish. That doesn't happen at all. Last but the least, how can you actually apply this in your current strategies as well? So again, what can you do? So, yes, for everyone who already has a security champion program in place, what can you do next week? What can you do right away? Go back, look at your security champions program that you already have existing. Have a look at that. Are you training your developers for the sake of training? Are you training your developers so that they could interact better with security? Or are you training your developers to actually resolve or remediate the risk and let the business go faster? Look at your strategy again and always define the roles. The next important part is what would you do in the next 3 months? For that, revisit the roles because whatever you will create in the first go will might actually be entirely incorrect as well. Now start looking at your security engagement models as well, because that is where all your bottlenecks are. Revisit how can you break those silos in a organizational aspect as well and bring that change. The security teams need to build guardrails and not engagement models at the end of the day. Now start moving the strategy into new roles as well. Think about your release train engineers, your scrum masters, and the testers and the reliability engineers who are very critical in the entire delivery lifecycle. What is their task at the end of the day within the teams? Once you're establishing it, start revisiting it in the next 6 months as well. Add more teams to it, but very important is align it to people and culture. Think about how are you cross skilling and making cross functional teams in your organization, right? So start thinking, what about their recognitions? What about their career development pathways? What do you actually have for them at the end of the day? I say that because I've been in both the places. And if you have been in the security world, felt frustrated as I have been, or in the development world, felt frustrated again as I have been, the answer is take a middle gap. Start bridging the gap between the security and start building that virtual talent pool that actually resolves the frustrations of the both ends. And that would be all for me. Thank you so much for today.